What up? Can you get a car for free? Can you get your debt discharged? Yeah, you can. I know people that have gotten their debt discharged. I know people that have gotten student loans discharged. I've helped people get their student loans discharged, along with many other things. But let's talk about this process a little bit. Not just what the process entails, because every process is going to be different, but some of the things that the people who promote these services or promote these ideologies and whatnot, what they're not telling you. What they're not telling you. I know you've seen the video, get a car for free. You've probably seen the video that you can get your car for free. You've probably seen the video that you can get your down payment refunded back to you, right? Things like the finance charge. If you're financing your car, it means it's already been paid for. How to fight foreclosures, how to get other debts discharged, right? Nothing's wrong with what the people are teaching as long as they teach the right process and they can get it done. I know some people, some of my mentors have these processes in place, but I want to tell you guys a little bit more about it and go into deep and kind of give you all a real life, because I'm a no flow. This keeps coming up because a lot of people during the pandemic didn't know how to grow the money. They didn't know how to grow the credit. So now they got a bunch of debt and they're trying to figure out if they can discharge it with the process, blah, blah, blah. Some things that I'm telling you about debt discharge. It is a process. It is a process. What do I mean by it's a process? What I mean is that you could be going through trying to get your debt discharged for multiple years. What's good, Maria? You could be going through this process for multiple years. For example, debt discharging a student loan debt. Using a borrower defense method, once you submit your application, which is around 25 pages, by the way, you have to wait for them to either approve your debt discharge, or you have to wait up to 3 years for them to actually discharge it, right? When you go to studentaid.gov, in the bylines, it actually says what's going on. Yoslin, what's going on, Damien? It actually says that once you submit your borrower defense paperwork, if you don't hear anything back after 3 years, your student loan is automatically discharged. It says that right on the website. It's not instantaneous. So when people hear that you can get your student loan discharged, like, oh, I just fill out one application and it's going to go away overnight. It's never overnight. Hello. It's never overnight. You don't submit an application today and they just wipe out $70,000 of student loans tomorrow. When you're going through other debt discharge processes, right? Whether you're going through discharging it through a trust or you're discharging it through some other type of administrative process, it takes time. And it's called a process because it's just that. It is a process. You may have to send out, and I'm saying may because there's more than one way to do discharge. There's more than one way to do a discharge. I'm going to say it again. There's more than one way to do a discharge. You're going to hear a lot of different people with a lot of different methods. Nothing wrong with one method or the other, but understand none of them are fast. It may take a couple of months. It may take over a year to get it done. But here's the other part. While you're going through the discharge process, whatever process it may be, these companies still want their money. These companies still want their money. So as you go through these different discharge methods, your administrative processes, the companies are still going to do everything that they can do to collect from you. So they will continue to call you, right? Unless you tell them not to call you. They will continue to send you collection notices. They will continue to send you a bill if you have a bill or a billing statement. Some of them, what's going on? What's going on? Some of them will sue you and take you to court. And then you'll have to go through the process of defending yourself and your position in court. I want everyone to be aware of that, because it sounds good until you start, and then it's like, damn, I didn't know I was going to have to do all this. I didn't realize I was going to have to literally get fortified in myself, fortified in my paperwork, fortified in my documentation, so that I can really tough this thing out. People start the process and then they make the process or make their situation worse for themselves because they didn't have the wherewithal to finish the process. Once you start, you must finish, because if you don't, what happens is that you just end up making a mess for yourself. This is how people who, if you're familiar with the sovereign community and using 1099s to discharge debt, all those type of things, that's how some of these people end up going to jail, because they do the documentation incorrectly. They follow the wrong process, or they don't complete the process. And because they didn't complete the process, guess what? Now it looks like fraud. Now they're being charged with federal fraud, right? Whether it's impersonating a religious organization or grand theft, things like that. You must be aware of this, because you can do these processes wrong and you end up fucked. You end up in a worse position. If we're talking about your house and you're like, oh, I'm going to use my administrative process to get my house for free or get out of a foreclosure. Great. Fantastic. Same thing. You have to see the process through. You have to go through all the trials and tribulations of going through a foreclosure, the phone calls, the legal proceedings. You have to be willing to sit down, whether it's with you, your attorney, whoever's coaching you through the process, AI, right? Go through that process and submit those letters. Respond back to them. Show up to court. Defend yourself. Know how to defend yourself. I mean, the foreclosure process itself isn't a fast process. It could take, even if you're just doing a regular foreclosure, it could take a year or two to get to the point of being foreclosed on, right? But you have to be willing to stick with the process, to fight the process. The other thing you want to think about and make sure of is that you are mentally and emotionally prepared to go through this process, because it's literally you versus an entire team of people. And for them, it's never personal. For you, for us, because we're trying to make a better way for ourselves, we're trying to eliminate debt, get out of debt, or we're trying to lessen the load or the burden or whatever. It's just you, right? You don't have a team of people working with you. Some of you do, if you got the money, right? Maybe you hired a team of people to help you. But understand that they have an actual payroll of people to do this. They have a team of attorneys who all they do is file lawsuits. They have a team of people where all they do is just call for the sake of collecting. They have a team of people where all they do is review and draft documents. This whole team of people versus you. You still got to go to work. You still have to Do whatever activities, hobbies you have. If you operate a business, you still have to run the business, deal with your employees, deal with your family, your children, any extracurricular activities. Plus, create time to go through this discharge process, whichever discharge process you decide, whether it's administrative, whether it's using 1099s, whether it's using trust. You have to create the time for it. It's not quick. It almost becomes like another part of your life. Like it becomes a whole other avenue of your existence. So just keep that in mind. I'm not telling you not to explore, not to do it. I'm letting you know that it simply won't be quick and it's not going to be easy. So just be prepared for the long haul. Be prepared, like, okay, I'm going to start this process. This might take me a year from start to finish. And even once you start it to finish it, you still may not get the end result that you're looking for. They may still sue you. You may still lose. You may end up having a garnishment. You may have your wages garnished. You may have your bank account frozen. If you're trying to get your car back, if you don't do it right, you're going through the process, you may still end up having your car repossessed. None of these people who are telling you these processes can guarantee your success, because they can only tell you but so much. Because once you start going through the process, you start getting into the weeds of it. It's literally every single person's situation is different. Literally every single person's situation is different. Somebody, it may take them 6 months and they got their car for free. But that person may have only gone to one dealership that pulled their credit one time, and that made it a lot more simple. Whereas someone else could have got financing through a credit union and then went to go buy the car. That's a totally different process, because you're not challenging your purchase with the car with the dealership. To the dealership, you came in with a check. So you're not talking to the dealership. You're talking to the company that financed you, because you went to them and asked them for an auto loan. So now you have to start your process with who gave you the money. And that's just in a situation of the car, right? Every detail about your situation is going to change how your process works. Each bank that you dispute with and you go through your process with is going to change how your process works. The products that you applied for, that you're trying to get discharged, is going to change how your process works. No one process is the same. Be prepared that it's going to take time. Be prepared that it's never a quick fix. Be prepared that there's no guarantee that you'll win. There's no guarantee. Just be prepared. Be prepared. They may, if you're trying to get your car for free, they may still try to come repo your car. They might repo the car. And part of your process is still continuing on with the process to the point of them returning your car or allowing you to get the car back without any additional negative impact. But you have to be prepared for that. That's what people who are promoting, talking about these different administrative processes, discharges and whatnot, aren't telling you. Once you decide that you don't want to pay and you're going to go through this process, you have to be ready for all the consequences that come with it. Because they are not going to say, oh, you sent us an affidavit, let's not get our money. Nah, it's never going to work that way. Nobody cares about these these documents and whatnot until you're in a courtroom discussing your case. Sending a bunch of affidavits and letters don't mean shit to nobody. They're just going to be like, no, we don't accept this. No, we don't accept this. No, we're not going to do this. No, 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 no. So just be aware of that. Pick and choose your battles. Do you feel like going through that? Do you want to essentially risk having your car repoed? Are you ready for the headaches that come with hiding your car from the repo man while you go through these administrative processes? Do you feel like going through the process and potentially losing a property as you go through these administrative processes? Are you willing to risk your literal freedom? I know someone who's gone through processes. They had bonds and everything. They ended up having to go to jail for 11 months while they got the paperwork together to show that they weren't committing fraud. Are you willing to do that? I mean, now they're out, right? They're still out. They're still operational. They're a 7-figure earner. I should have led with that. They're a 7-figure earner who's had all their stuff set up properly. But when they gave their documentation to a banker, the banker thought that it was fraud. So she called the police on them, and they spent 11 months in jail until the judge can see all the documentation. Are you willing to stand on business to that level? To literally lose 11 months of your life attempting to do these processes. And this was a person who knew the process. They've gone through all the steps. They had all their documentation, but someone thought that they were committing fraud and they didn't have enough documentation to support them. Just make sure you understand the full consequences of what you're going through. Don't get so hyped up on the fact that you're going to maybe potentially get a free car. Because even the person talking about it can't guarantee that it's going to go your way. All right. I wanted to, because this whole get something for free mentality, you're going to end up losing something if you don't know what you're talking about, if you're not doing it right. If you're not doing it right. Knowing how to get something discharged is not financial literacy. Because you can destroy your credit in the process. You can get your funds and your bank account frozen in the process. You can get sued in the process. You can lose your freedom in the process. Just a fair warning. Just a heads up. So you know what you're getting into before you start running around screaming that you're discharging your debt. All right. Also, for anybody who is looking for that, vet the person who claims they can help you discharge the debt. Ask them to see their paperwork. Ask to see what debts they've gotten discharged so far in their own personal life. All right. I'll holler at y'all. If you're not worried about doing a discharge and you actually want access to capital, or you need assistance with improving your credit to get access to capital, hit me up. The links are in the video description. Peace.